Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Bros podcast. My name is Jeremy. Welcome if it's your first time joining us on the show. I'm joined by my lovely friend and co-host Ilan. How are we, mate?
Mate, I'm great and I'm ready to grind. It's the greatest lock-in of all time, isn't it?
We've heard that one before, haven't we? And we're hearing
have.
it even more now, which brings us to this episode. You know what? Not long ago when I was away, walking through the mountains of Albania on a little holiday, which was lovely. I was with my mate Drew, shout out Drewy, and we were talking about lock-in culture. We were talking about where we think lock-in culture is going, how it's being viewed currently, and what our thoughts are on it. And that's what's really sparked this episode for me, because it's been in my mind ever since then. Lock-in culture, what is it?
Well, I don't know. If you've been on TikTok as of late and you'll see, beware the great lock-in from September till December, October till December. And, when you dig deeper and you see what it means, it's like you stop going out, you stop having fun, you don't have a sip of alcohol, you try and do some form of dopamine detox, you even delete social media in some cases. And for what? Well, I guess the pursuit is to get unwavering discipline to become or get into the best physical shape of your life and to make a ton of money. All these kind of things that are hailed as the ultimate good and ultimate pinnacle on social media, right? And social media influencers love to peddle it.
We see it a lot with the social media influencers, with the fitness influencers per se, and whilst understanding it is part of their job, and especially being in the fitness space, they are encouraging people to lock in and be very diligent and be very intentional with what they do when it comes to fitness, when it comes to health. A lot of the messaging needs to come with caution, because not everyone needs to be fed this whole you need to lock in type book, because general population, they might not necessarily need to be feeling like they need to act this way. And if they don't act this way, they are less of a human. And what I mean by less of a human is because this is where I feel a lot of the lock-in posts are going. You see so many collages, montages, carousels on Instagram now from a lot of these guys and girls where it's like a photo of them drinking or being out with their friends, and then now it's a photo of them on a running track looking ripped and looking jacked. And it was like, this was me 3 years ago drinking and partying with my friends. And then it's like on the flip side of it, it's like, well, now this is me locked in, sober, 300 days, haven't touched alcohol, haven't gone out, haven't partied. And whilst I understand the messaging is trying to encourage people to level up and be the best version of themselves, I also think it comes with dangerous messaging that, like, you are less of a human if you aren't experiencing those heights of social status, of stardom, of fitness. If you're not jacked, then you're not as worthy. If you're drinking on the weekend, if you're partying with your mates, then you're not as worthy. It's almost demonizing that type of living, or demonizing fun, demonizing the good times. And the good times for people typically sometimes does include drinking and going out with their friends, but it doesn't mean that needs to be their whole life. And it seems as though these lock-in type posts are making it sound like that was their whole life and that's why it is bad. But for a lot of the general population, doing those activities and enjoying a drink and enjoying partying, that isn't our whole life. That might just be like a weekend activity, but then 6 of the other 7 days of the week, they are disciplined, they are working hard, but it's almost demonizing it to look like if you do it, you are bad and you are not as worthy as everyone else currently.
Well, you got to think about it this way. Moderation isn't sexy. At least it's not captured that way on social media. Think about what social media algorithms aim to optimize, and that's clicks, that's engagement. And for them, the best way to get someone to engage is by triggering something emotional within them. And, if you're having a video that talks about the importance of being balanced and having moderation, that's way less likely to engender an emotional response. However, if you say, you are a lazy piece of shit because you didn't go for your 6 a.m. run and you had alcohol 2 weeks ago on a night out, that's far easier to get an emotional reaction from someone to
True.
be like, you know what, I need to stick through with this video and see what they have to say, because they have rippling six-pack abs. They were just on a first-class flight to Dubai. They genuinely might be speaking from a place of authority. And the thing is, that influencer may or may not actually believe what they're saying, but it's an effective vehicle for them to drive engagement onto their page, and even a potential for them to be like, yeah, buy my course. Now, is this every influencer? No. But it has you believing that, you know what, if I want to improve in my life, it has to be either it's all or nothing, right? There can't be a in between. And the thing is, I don't think locking in on its own is a bad thing.
No.
Because there's going to be times in your life where you have to sacrifice a few things in the pursuit of something quite important.
Yeah.
So let's say you're in year 12 and it's the last few months and you've got your exams to study for. Yeah, you're probably going to be sacrificing going out a lot, but you'll be sacrificing a lot. You'll be studying way more. And there'll be things that you naturally remove as part of your life in pursuit of getting you prepared. In the same way, a bodybuilder is going to be cutting out a lot of foods and calories when they're going up on stage. In the same way, you know, someone who is preparing for like a grand final, like great example, Lachie Neale, he's probably got that tight calf and he's probably pushing through a lot of pain, and it's probably not going to have the best long-term effect on his health, but it's all to do with making or having some sort of performance or planning something. But for majority of people, we don't have that at every moment in our life.
Yes.
It's like, again, another example, a MMA fighter or a boxer who doesn't see their family for, you know, a month or two because they're at a training camp. It's like, these things aren't sustainable over time. And these things aren't necessarily supposed to be glamorous, but they serve their purpose. But anything that is extreme tends to have consequences attached along with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But a lot of those points that you mentioned are really talking about the pursuit of greatness from like an athletic lens, from an elite kind of lens. And that's the messaging behind what we're trying to say today. Is you got to keep in mind, if you are listening, if you're just like us, you're a general person that, you know, loves your fitness, loves going out as well, and loves to enjoy your time with mates. Don't get fed this narrative that you need to do that all or nothing approach, and if you don't do it, you are not worthy. Locking in is good for a time period if you feel like you need to really just hone in on a skill. It might be, you know, if you really want to get good at, let's just say it's podcasting, and you want to learn the ropes of podcasting, and for 2 weeks you want to, in quotation marks, lock in and try learn everything you can to do that, by all means. From a fitness lens, if you've got like a goal you want to get towards, if it's like you're about to run like a Melbourne marathon for something, and for those couple of months leading up to it, you want to really lock in, again in quotation marks, and nail down your training blocks and prepare yourself as best as you can for that. By all means, that's great. But being fed the narrative that you need to do that for the test of time and for the length of time, that is where, like you mentioned, mate, it's unsustainable, and you'll probably end up just rotting and hating yourself for it, because you got yourself into thinking that this is the most optimal way to live your life. It is most optimal to be looking shredded. It is most optimal to not be touching alcohol. It's most optimal to not be engaging in any of those dopaminergic activities. And then the moment that you do engage in that, it's like having the forbidden apple. It's like having the forbidden fruit that is automatically going to make you feel like less of a human. And that is the cautioning of this, that you are not that. You do not have to feel like you need to, again in quotations, lock in for so much time, for your whole life essentially, just because that's what it sounds like people are doing now on social media, especially when they talk about being sober for like a year or something and glorifying that. Like, great, like if you don't want to touch alcohol for a year and it's better for you, great. But I also don't understand why those people that do that feel the need to publicize it so much. Because if you just enjoyed doing the activity because it made you feel better about yourself, why do you then need to just voice it? Like, I don't tell the whole world that like I prefer having hot showers over cold showers because hot showers make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, I don't write that on my social media. So for the people that write like that they've done this like heavy extensive activity that like goes against the grain, keep it to yourself if it really is providing you benefits, because when you are voicing it out to the world constantly, it almost has that reverse psychology effect, in my opinion. The effect of like saying, well, are you really enjoying that? Or just by voicing that, are you just trying to look for like almost that external validation to like give you the support that, oh yeah, what you're doing does sound good and you should keep doing it, even if you don't inherently feel that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I call it performative wellness culture, right? Like all the people on Bondi Beach now at 6 a.m. I saw this hilarious Instagram post like a few days ago where it compared what Bondi Beach is now, which is a bunch of like 30 different run clubs, you know, overcrowded beach at 6 a.m. versus what it was like 10, 15 years ago, which was like
just people running because they enjoy running.
Not even that, like a bunch of, how do you pronounce the thongs?
Havaianas.
Yeah, Havaiana thongs on the beach. You know, a few blue bottles and Bondi Rescue and a Porto.
Yeah.
And now
a Porto.
Yeah, like that's a throwback. But now it's, you know, it's a lot of performative wellness culture. But
yeah,
I think that's more just Australian culture. But I don't mind wellness. I think there's a difference
between
wellness culture. I like wellness culture. I think what annoys me is the people who decide to lock in for the sake of locking in, without actually having an attached reason behind it.
Do you need to have a reason though?
Well, I think it would make sense. We talk about resilience without love. Specifically, you speak a lot about resilience without love. And I love that idea, because if the whole lock-in thing is providing you a sense of fulfillment, then that's fine. It's giving you a sense of meaning. But I think for most people, driving yourself to the most extreme lengths of personal development is going to come at the cost of burnout. It's going to come at the cost of some poor relationships. Like, can you imagine a 35-year-old father who has to try and pay off a mortgage being like to his wife, yeah, this is the great lock-in from September to December. We're not going out. I'm not spending time with our kids. I'm not doing any fun activities that might enhance my relationship with, you know, my friends and family, because I want to just lock in for the sake of getting to the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
It's like, is that really feasible?
Yeah.
That's
is that a trade-off you want to have?
Correct. And it's like the people who, like, don't get me wrong, if you want to be the top 1% in the world at a specific task, the trade-off is, yeah, you're probably going to burn out.
You'll have to kind of make the sacrifice.
But for most people, they don't fall within that category. Like, if you want to be the top 1%, like Michael Jordan was if arguably the best basketballer of all time. But, you know, you look at his relationships, they weren't the greatest. You know, people thought he was a real asshole. It's like, for a lot of people, that is the cost of doing business. And I think for most individuals, including myself, I'd rather have a bit more balance in my life, because I know that when all is said and done, I'll be more grateful for the experiences and the relationships that I've cultivated, rather than any kind of solitary goal that I had.
Yeah, it's just about asking yourself what makes you happy, or what are the things you like enjoying. And I feel like this whole lock-in culture is really making us feel like we need to be so intentional with our choices now. Like, do you really need to have that ice cream right now? Do you really need to have that grilled burger right now? Should you be going for a chicken breast grilled burger rather than a simply grilled burger, because maybe the calories are slightly different? Like, when we're talking about once-offs here, it shouldn't be as deliberate as an approach. We're losing our sense of just chillness and humanity and relaxing into the ease and fun of what it is to just be in our 20s. And I truly believe this whole lock-in culture and us being fed this narrative constantly on our feeds every day is causing this.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people do struggle just to chill the fuck out. I think there's a real struggle to just sit and enjoy yourself, have the ice cream, right? Have the beer without feeling guilty, because, you know, Jocko Willink told you on a TikTok video, or David Goggins said that you're a bitch if you don't, you know, go for that 5 a.m. run. And I think there's this like increased cultural movement now. It's like, it's masochistic in a lot of ways. It's this self-punishment. And I've never understood of, you know, punishing yourself for doing something in the first place, right? Like, as humans, we don't want to punish ourselves, but we want to learn, reflect, see what we did wrong, and then move on from it. And I feel like that's just the way it's just been framed nowadays. Is just, I don't know, it gives me a bit of the ick.
Yeah, well, it's definitely icking me. And we see it so much. And like, I'm at the point now where it's like, you're seeing people that you once saw as role models, whether it's in the fitness space, whether it's in the productivity space, and they're promoting this so much right now, and they're promoting the like buy my course type posts so much right now, and like I spoke about before, like those almost before and after posts of like, this was me drinking, now I'm locked in and I don't drink anymore. All of that type of content so much that you're at the point of like unfollowing your previous role models. And yeah, when I think back to like Drew and I, when we were traveling, we were doing that as well. Like we were just sitting at the airport and talking about it and saying like, so many of like these guys that we used to like grow up loving in the fitness space, in the productivity space, this is all they're promoting nowadays. And you almost feel like they've just lost their authenticity that they once were, because they're just so much, they're like a slave now to the lock-in culture, to the culture of buying my course book and just generating more money off social media. And it's sad to see, because social media, YouTube, always led and always fed us the narrative of like, just give out value to people and and don't worry, like your money will come if you're just giving value to people. Now it gives this narrative of like, give out value to people, but make sure you charge for it as well. Like, here is the value, but buy my course so you can get more of that value. And like, I understand that it's a business for a lot of these people and that's their livelihood, but it is sad to see the shift in a lot of the content from what once was such authentic posting about just providing value and making people better people, to now being, I'm still going to provide you that value, but here is a course book that you must buy. And then only from buying that course book, you'll then have that access to the value, which I maybe once gave you for free.
Yeah, that's why I always like, I admire more the influencers who have that balance, who have the family, who have the fulfilling relationships, at least you don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but you know, you'd like to think that they have all their domains sorted.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me. It's not usually the 23-year-old rip dude who goes on morning runs and has a rippling 6-pack abs and has a coaching service. Like, that doesn't excite me as much. More the people who, and I think that's a values thing as well. It depends what you value in life. And I think for most people, we value a range of things, and we don't value lock-in culture. I think really that's the truth. What we do value though is self-improvement, and self-improvement doesn't have to only exist within lock-in culture. It can exist within doing things every day that lead to gradual improvements in your life, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that by doing that, you reduce the risk of you burning out. It's now actually ingrained in your lifestyle. It's like, that's why diets don't work, because a lot of the time diets, you know, someone will aim to lose a bunch of weight, and they will, but then they'll gain it back because it was never part of their lifestyle. They weren't ready for it. It's the same people who win the lottery and then lose all the money a few years later. So the idea here is that you've got to find something that's congruent with your lifestyle. And yeah, that might mean chipping away at different things in your life and changing it, but not changing it so much that it's this kind of cataclysmic, destabilizing aspect to your routine, because that's when you'll falter, right? That's why you've got to be really, really careful and meticulous. So it's like, if you've never gone to, and physical fitness is a really easy example to talk about, but like, if you've never gone to gym and you want to start exercising and you perhaps want to start running, but you have no cardio base, well, perhaps you just go for walks. And, you know, instead of spending an hour at home after work doom scrolling, you spend that hour maybe going for a walk. That's 1 out of 24 hours in your day where you're not really changing too much. It shouldn't be so much of a destabilizing event. But if you try to change every waking hour in that day to optimize for everything, and that's what annoys me. It's the whole optimization culture, which is doing more harm than good. Because if you're trying, there's a real paradox. By trying to optimize everything in your life, you start actually having massive sacrifices, because everything's got a cost. Yeah,
everything's got a cost. And that's where the 80-20 rule comes in as what we believe is the best solution and the only solution, in my opinion, unless you, of course, are in that top percentile of eliteness where you are working towards achieving such a specific goal where you do have to, in quotations, lock in 100% of the time. If you are an everyday person like us that just wants to look good, that wants to feel good, that wants to enjoy life, enjoy what summer has to come as well in the upcoming months. And Melbourne summer. And yeah, you just want to look good, feel good while still enjoying yourself and not feel like a slave to the lock-in culture. This is where the 80-20 rule is the best and the only way that you should live your life, in my opinion. And that is, being pretty disciplined 80% of the time, keeping those habits at bay 80% of the time, whether that is going to gym for 80% of your sessions. Yeah, you might miss one session here and there, but that's okay. Don't demonize yourself for it and think that you're less of a human because of that. Having that beer on the weekend or a few of those beers on the weekend with your mates, but maybe not doing it for the whole week, but saving yourself the Saturday to do it, because you know that during the week, across the weekdays, you are pretty much locked in quotations. You're doing everything right. You're in good habits, but then Saturday night comes and you can enjoy yourself, and that is okay. You're not worthless for doing that. If you are just an everyday person that wants to live life in a chilled way, in a fun way, that doesn't feel like they need to be a slave to the lock-in culture.
And that's why I love Higher Up Wellness, Michael Smoke. He promotes both things. He's like, listen, if you're going to have fun and you want to have even more fun and feel better about it, do something that's difficult, whether it be exercise, grinding out some passion project, but do something that, challenges you, and then, where you have to exercise your discipline, but, have some fun after, go out with your friends, have a drink. And I think the more balance you try have in your life, the better you will be, the better your mental state will be. And ultimately, I think that's how you'll get fulfillment. I think most people in life tend to get meaning from almost having their eggs in multiple baskets rather than having it all in on one.
Yeah, I agree. On that note, guys, thank you for joining us today, talking about the whole lock-in mindset. And if you have any words that you'd like to share about lock-in culture, let us know. Tell us what you think. And on that note, we'll see you next week.
Ciao.